Claire and Michael O'Brien are now going to tell you about their son, Dylan's story. They will also tell you about the charity they have set up as Dylan's legacy. Dylan was a happy little boy who lived with his parents and siblings. He sadly displayed several symptoms of a metabolic disease, but like many other children, he was never diagnosed, and tragically, he died aged 2 years and 4 months.
Hi, my name is Michael O'Brien. I am Dylan O'Brien's father. We lost our son in 2012 to an unknown metabolic disease. He should have had 4 operations on his tonsils, and for some unknown reason they were taken out, which did contribute to his death. We didn't feel we wanted to blame anybody for Dylan's death in that regard. However, we wanted to do something positive, and this is where the Dylan O'Brien Foundation was set up and what has kept my wife and myself going. When Dylan died, it nearly destroyed me with the personal things which have happened to me. However, I think with the foundation, it's given me a new lease of life because I can see Dylan's legacy being left. And I think that is the important thing. When something like this happens and you lose a child, you can either go in on yourself or you can do something positive. I lost a child 20 years ago as well, and we should have been on the Coney programme. The Coney programme was going for 25 years, but if people don't know about these things, then how can the health professionals refer? When you got reconstituted families now, the father's point of view is taken into account. If he's lost a child from a previous relationship, I think the key there is all the notes amalgamated so they can flag it up straight away, because in our case, unfortunately, it was missed. Even though I did bring it up at the time, it was seen as insignificant, but as we know now, it was quite significant. And I think that is a positive change, because our local doctors where we were at the time have picked up on another couple who like us should have been on the Coney programme, and they were caught in time. I mean, that is positivity. They can have all the tests done now, and people should be given the choice. And I've been asked this one question: what happens if my wife would have had testing and before Dylan was born, he had a metabolic disease? Well, some people are going to choose to have the baby, and we would have, no matter what, we would have had Dylan. But you've got to give people the choice, because some people are not all going to be like us and say, well, I don't think I can bring up a disabled child like that. And, the rights and wrongs of whether that should, happen is neither here nor there. You have to give people an informed choice of whether they want that child. Personally for me, whatever my child come out like, he was my child. I would never. But there's other ramifications. It's not just a case of, diagnosing the children. It's giving the parents the choice whether they can cope with a child with the chances are is going to die at a later date. To be honest, we knew that even if Dylan had his tonsils out, he was going to have problems. I think that is well documented, and there was no guarantee with a genetic disorder or metabolic disorder whether he was going to, whether he would have died at 5 years of age, 10 years of age. I woke up Friday morning, normal school day. My wife come running in. I knew my son was dead. And we tried to revive him, and that was one of the most horriblest things. And I don't want to see other parents going through that. We had no warning, and that's the key to the Coney programme. At least it gives you some warning if you get there in time. I think, how do you tell somebody that, say for instance, you've got West syndrome, that the chances are your child's not going to live till they're 5 and there is no cure? Because I think we've got to be realistic here. Some of these illnesses, there is no cure. All you can do is like palliative care, basically. You can give them the best life you possibly can and make them as comfortable as possible.
Dylan was an angel. He was a gift. We weren't ever meant to keep him. And I believe that, and I've said that from day one, since he passed away. We were supposed to be his voice. His voice is for Dylan. And we were supposed to do what we're doing. Dylan will save lives. and with all of his symptoms that he had, and if people can learn from what Dylan had, because he went undiagnosed and he's still undiagnosed. We only know he's got a metabolic disease. We don't know which one, and until we do, we're kind of like living in limbo. And so if people can learn from Dylan's symptoms and put together with this, us telling Dylan's story and the pictures of Dylan, then maybe just they've saved another child.
I think the key issue for the GPs for me is I noticed in Dylan's records they said Dylan was a funny looking kid, so obviously there was something they should have picked up. It's called facial dysmorphia. The easiest way for the GP to know there's something wrong with a child of a metabolic disease, they might not be able to tell you what it is. Failure to thrive. Now if a child is failure to thrive, reoccurring vomiting and has facial dysmorphia, or a funny looking kid as they say, refer, because that child, the chances are they have a genetic or metabolic disease, and we want them to use Dylan's pictures and symptoms as a way of going, hang on, we've got a child here who needs serious attention. And they're the three key issues of any paediatrician should know, that if you see a child, so we're trying to get that into the doctor's surgery and saying, well, if you see a child and he has these three symptoms, you should know to refer without delay and get on the phone. And I think that is important, but we need to let all the GPs in England and Wales know this. You know, this can't just be in one surgery where Dylan died. We did not expect to get up that Friday morning and find Dylan in the state he was. We knew he was ill, but we didn't know that he was going to die. And I think, you know, I can remember that day as clear as day. And I want to share this because the day before he died, he kept on saying, up the sky. And we didn't, you know, we were wondering, bye, up the sky. And it's like he knew he was going. And I remember that night clearly, he jumped on a settee with me, then he had a bottle and cutsed into me. I give him a kiss and everything. He run us ragged that night, till 12 o'clock. He was playing peekaboo behind the door. And I mean, he was like, if you looked at him, there was no indication. And, you know, there was no indication that was going to be the last time we seen him alive, you know. And but it was like he knew. He had so many illnesses. He come down with colds. I mean, he had, his eyes were all bunged up all the time. We knew there was something serious, you know, there was something wrong, but not life-threatening, but we knew there was something seriously wrong. A child doesn't get that many infections and colds and tonsillitis as much as what he did, you know. There was no way. That's another indication that something's not right, when a child keeps coming down with every symptom under the sun, you know. I know children get viruses, but not like that, you know. And it was basically because of the metabolic disease, you know, unfortunately, but we didn't know that at the time. And but what I can say to you about Dylan, he was one of those happiest childs, even though he was ill. Always had, I taught him the Ayatollah to the Barmy Army in Cardiff City. I mean, all sorts. And they said he was never going to walk, and it was the last thing he did. He walked.
A month before he died.
Yeah, and to see him, I mean...
He was 22 months when he was crawling. He started crawling at the age of 22 months. Even though he couldn't do these things, he couldn't move and he couldn't communicate. He had his own way of doing it, which means we gave him that determination to do things, and anything is possible. And through Dylan and everything he went through, and he taught us a lot. He taught us that nothing is impossible.
Yeah, I do believe lessons have been learned, and I do believe, you know, I think what helped me and Claire was when we had the meeting with Adam Cairns, he was really honest with us, and I think that went a long way. And to be fair to the, you know, I will say this, I have been told with all the media outlets, they have never ever seen a programme where the family and the NHS have got together and worked together. They said, and I know a lot of TV people. I've done a lot of TV programs for other things, and they said that it is unique, and I think that in itself is a show of strength and the way forward. I think is brilliant. You know, I didn't think when Dylan died, I think this was the furthest from my mind personally, you know, but I think it is the right thing to do, and, you know, constructive. I think that's the word. It's got to be constructive. We accept it's too late for Dylan. We tried. We done our best, and I don't feel no guilt. We did try our best to save him. Nothing we could have done, but we can save other children's lives. Yeah, I just hope my son Dylan's looking down on us and he's very proud.
Sure he is. Thank
I
you.
do.
both.
Thank you.